Hey guys, it's Emily, and today I'm going to be sharing some cozy books for autumn. So fall is finally upon us, and so that means that my favorite season is here, and so I thought that today I would share with you some of my wholesome, comforting, like cozy reads, because this is the type of book that I gravitate towards during the fall season, and so I thought I would share like some of my favorites with you guys. Now, if you're looking for like spooky and like darker reads, I won't be sharing them in this video. I have another video that I'm planning on filming very soon with more like Halloween type books, so stay tuned for that. But today we're really going to talk about the cozy and like just the best fall vibes. So I feel like the stack that I have to share with you today is quite varied, meaning that I have like every age range, and I also have a good variety of genres. So without further ado, let's dive in. So one of the books that to me feels the most fall ever is Eliza and Charlotte by Brittany Cavallero. So this is a gender-bent Sherlock Holmes retelling in which we're following our two main characters, Jamie and Charlotte. Jamie and Charlotte are both the descendants of respectively Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes, and they go to this private boarding school in Connecticut. They never really were friends, like they knew of each other, but they never really talked before this specific moment that happens at the very beginning of this book. Basically what happens is that someone is recreating the Sherlock Holmes stories on campus, meaning that some people get murdered, some people get like brutalized in the ways that are described in the original Sherlock stories. So obviously Jamie and Charlotte are going to team up together and try to solve who's behind all of this. And to me, this is one of the most fall books ever, like I've mentioned, because mostly of the school setting. I don't know why I love a good boarding school setting, but this is like perfect in this book. I feel like it's so atmospheric and just it keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time while being fun and lighthearted still. I feel like this is so underrated as far as like YA like mystery thrillers go. I feel like we have some more popular series in this one, but it's a good staple. If you guys would like to check out a Sherlock Holmes retelling, this one is amazing. And this first book in the series is by far my favorite one. I love the rest of the series as well, but in terms of like the fall vibes, this one is the best. Now, when I think about cozy reads, I always gravitate towards Pages & Co. by Anna James. So this is the first book, Tilly and the Book Wanderers, and basically it follows our main character Tilly, who lives with her grandparents in a bookshop because her grandparents own this bookshop, and I think Tilly and her grandparents live above it. But because her grandparents own a bookshop in London, Tilly has grown up with books and with stories, and one day she discovers that she's actually able to bring characters from her favorite stories to life. I just love this series so much. I remember reading this in the middle of winter and I just thought that it was so cozy, and for some reason like books about books for me scream coziness, so this is one of the best ones in terms of like the vibes. I think like the bookshop setting, the fact that it's set in London, it was just so perfect. And I think if you're looking for something quick and easy, because I'll be honest, like the font is quite big and like there are illustrations throughout. So if you're looking for something fun, lighthearted, super quick to read and captivating, I would highly recommend checking out the Pages & Co. series. This is book 1. So far there are 3 books out and there's a 4th one coming out this fall, so I'm just very excited to read that one. But overall this is an incredible series that I think deserves even more hype that it's been getting. Talking of books about books, I immediately thought of Hinkart by Cornelia Funk. It's been a while since I've read this one and I don't remember the plot of it too specifically, but I mean, a good book about books is always something that I would recommend during this season. This is a translated work from German, I think, as well. And there's a movie that features Brendan Fraser. So I think I need to reread this because it's been so long, but I remember really loving this. And it's a trilogy. I just really loved it. And I thought the characters were amazing. The story felt very real and vivid. And I don't, like I said, remember the plot of it too well, but I'll leave it linked in the description box down below if you guys want to check it out. But I just thought I would mention it here because I think if you've never read it, it's a good one to read. I really loved this series when I read it as a kid, and so that's another one that I would recommend for this season. When I think about middle grade, I have to talk about one of my all-time favorites, and that is The Highland Falcon Thief by Sam Sedgman and M.G. Leonard. Now, if you guys have been like long-term followers of my channel, you will know that I love this series to like death. I have read all 3 of them, the ones that are out so far. The 4th one just came out, but I haven't read it yet because my copy hasn't arrived. But this follows the adventures of our main character Hal, who is traveling on trains with his uncle. In this first book, they are going aboard the Highland Falcon and there's a jewelry theft that will happen on board, and Al is going to be the one trying to figure out who has done this. I just love this series. The first one specifically holds a special place in my heart. It is probably my favorite one in the series so far just because of the feelings that it gave me and the fact that it introduced me to the series, but every single one of them would be a great read for this time of year. I love middle grade mysteries, but this one is the one that just opened the door for me and like made me realize that I really liked middle grade mysteries, and it's so well written. There are illustrations throughout, and it's a fun one that will keep you on your toes the entire time. And personally, I didn't even guess who was a culprit. So if you're looking for a new middle grade mystery, this one is absolutely amazing and it deserves to be more hyped. This next book is described as dark academia and middle grade, and I don't know about you guys, but that sounds amazing. And that is The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane by Julia Noble. So this follows our main character Emmy, whose mom sends her to like a boarding school in England, but when Emmy gets there, she realizes that there is a secret society and it might have to do with something of her past. I really enjoyed this one. This first book in the series was simply incredible. If you're looking for like a dark academia for middle grade, there's like literally no better way to describe this. The atmosphere was really good. If you're looking for something a little bit creepy, this one would like still serve the vibes without like being a full-on like creepy novel. I really enjoyed this. The mystery and like the plot and intrigue kept me on my toes the entire time, and I would highly recommend it. I was kind of let down by the sequel, but the first one is absolutely incredible if you haven't read it yet. This next book would also fall within the dark academia aesthetic, and that is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Iyemide. I read this summer and absolutely fell in love with it. Basically, we're following our two main characters who are named prefect of their schools. But soon after they are named prefects, they start receiving these weird text messages. There's an anonymous texter on campus who's like revealing secrets of like the people at school. The best way to describe this would be Gossip Girl meets Get Out, and I think this totally fits the bill here. I just couldn't put this down. I read this under 24 hours, and if you're looking for like a gripping mystery thriller that discusses important issues within our society, then I think you should check out Ace of Spades. It was so incredible, and I am really looking forward to reading more works by this author. My next recommendation would be perfect for like these last few days of summer before you fall into fall, and it is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So this is actually book 4, The Raven King. I don't own a copy of the first book, so I thought I would still show you the beautiful cover of the 4th book. But if you're not familiar with The Raven Boys, it follows this group of characters who are all studying at this like prestigious prep school, except for one. Her name is Blue, and Blue is destined to kill her first kiss. So there's a curse on her, and Blue and her Raven Boys will team up together to try to uncover the secret behind this lost Welsh king. This is kind of like a dark academia book because it does tackle like research and academia, and like the aesthetic is there, but it wouldn't be like dark academia. I think it might be more so like light academia. And then we also have like the whole like witchy vibes because Blue comes from a family of witches, and as a whole like the series is so amazing. I know it's super hyped, but if you guys haven't read it yet, I think it would be perfect for this time of year. Because it's set in like Virginia, I think it would be perfect for like end of summer, beginning of fall, but because of like the witchery and everything, it's just perfectly cozy and like perfect for this time of year. So if you guys haven't read it, like The Raven Boys is one series that I would totally love to revisit soon. My next recommendation will be a little controversial because I feel like people either love this book or hate it, but personally, I was one of the people who liked it, and that's the Robert Langdon series by Dan Brown. The first book I think is the Da Vinci Code, though I don't know if that's the like original publication order, but that's the first book that I read in this series. Basically, we're following our main character who is a like symbology professor at Harvard, I believe, and there's like a murder that happens, or like something that happens at the Louvre. He is called as an expert, and basically will try to solve this mystery that will lead him on like this big quest that you weren't expecting when you first start the book. But personally, I really loved this series. I just love the vibes. I love the mystery. I love history and like art history and all of that jazz, and this deals very heavily with that. So if you're looking for like something different that you may not have read because you've heard like terrible things about it, I know like a lot of people say Dan Brown is like not the greatest author, but personally I feel like the plot of this series has been very interesting and like it kept me entertained. So personally, I really liked it. I have read the first like 4 books, and I've enjoyed like the first 3, I'd say. I don't remember the last one so much, so that's why I can't really say whether I liked it or not. But I think the series is great for this time of year because if you're looking for like a mystery and that also has like academia vibes, this one would be a good choice. I know there's also a new series on one of the books in that series, so if you're looking for something to watch this season, maybe you could give this one a try. I also know that there's like 2 movies with Tom Hanks as the lead for this series. So just so that I would mention it, it's been a while since I've like read the books, but I remember really liking them. If you're looking for a classic to read this season, may I recommend Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So it's been a while since I've read the Sherlock Holmes stories, but they are amazing. Like personally, I've read all of it and I've enjoyed every single thing. Obviously there are some that I prefer over others, but it's been so long that I wouldn't be able to like recommend one specifically. I think if you want to start, like get started with this, just start with the first one that was published. I think it was A Study in Scarlet, if I am not mistaken. But the Sherlock Holmes stories are super easy to read. They're also quite short. So if you're looking for like not novels, like you're looking for something short and sweet to read, there's a couple of short stories that you can read, as well as like full-on novels if you're looking for something a little bit more substantial. But as a whole, like this series is incredible. I just think it's a great way to get started with classics because the language is not intimidating at all. I am not an English native speaker and it was super easy for me to read the stories in their original language. So if you're looking to read a classic this season, I would totally recommend this. Next up, I have a like good old booktube staple, and it is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. So it's been a while since I read this. It was super popular back in the days, like I feel like in 2016 or something. I don't know exactly when this was published, but I remember that around the time that it came out, it was super popular, and for a reason, because it follows our main character, what's her name? Eliza? Oh, yeah, that's the title. Wow, Emily, good job. But yeah, it follows our main character, Eliza, who is a very popular web creator. And one day, one of the people who writes fan fiction for her work is coming to her school, and like they are like transferring from the school. And Eliza and that person are going to develop like a relationship of some sort. It deals a lot with like being famous on the internet, and the school setting is great. Personally, I really enjoyed this book. It's been, like I said, a while since I read it, but it really gripped me. I think if you're looking for a YA contemporary and you haven't given this one a try yet, would absolutely recommend. There are also some great discussions about mental health and like I said, dealing with fame as a teenager. So this one is amazing. It deserves the hype that it has gotten in the past. And if you're looking for an oldie but a goodie, then look no further than Eliza and Her Monsters. The next book that I recommend, take it with a grain of salt because I know there's been some controversy around the author. Personally, I liked this book, so that's why I'm recommending it. But I know the author has been doing some like not so great things in the past, so I still wanted to recommend it in case you have not picked it up and it's like on your shelf and you're looking for something to read. So this book is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. If you're looking for kind of an Harry Potter type of story where like they're going to a magical school and there's like wizardry and witchcraft and whatnot, and you want to read something different, this one is a great one. It's quite thick, okay? And I read this in like so quickly. I don't even remember how much time it took me, but honestly, I couldn't put this down. It's a 500-page book, which usually would take me like days, weeks to finish, and I read this like super quickly. It follows our main character Simon, who is like the chosen one. This is his last year at school. If you're familiar with Harry Potter, you will know the plot of this because I feel like it's very similar. There are definitely like a lot of resemblance between this book and Harry Potter. I think it's inspired from Harry Potter, but it's also its own thing. It's like its own world, its own characters. Personally, I really loved it. The romance is like chef's kiss. And yeah, this is a great one if you're looking for a new fantasy pick for this season. I think if you're looking for something like light, fun, but still heavy on the fantasy and like the romance, you will enjoy this. Now let's change genres entirely and go with a good old-fashioned YA contemporary. So this one is one that I've read for a reading vlog that is not even up yet. I think I might like scrap it because it's been too long, but I still wanted to talk about it. So it is Hot British Boyfriend by Christy Boyce. So this follows our main character Ellie, who at the beginning of the school year, she goes through a very traumatic moment at school. Basically everyone makes fun of her for something that happens, and she decides like on a whim, there's a spot that like frees up on this study abroad trip, so she joins last minute and then she goes to England for a semester. And I think one of the reasons why I would recommend this so much, while it's super fun, it's a quick read, it was super lighthearted, I really enjoyed it, but one of the reasons why I love this one and it reminds me of fall so much is because it does take place during the fall season, and as someone who did study abroad in fall, I felt a connection to this book. I went to England during the fall season and it just reminded me a lot of my time there, even though like we had completely different experiences and like this is a high school student story, so our stories are quite different, but it was such a fun one. Like Ellie is making some bad decisions sometimes and she's not always doing what is the greatest, but you cannot help but like root for her. And as a whole, this was such a fun read, and if you're looking for a new YA contemporary, I feel like this one has been going under the radar quite a bit. My next recommendation is one of my favorite books that I've read last year, and it is none other than The Bookshop on the Corner by Jenny Colgan. So this follows our main character Nina, who is a librarian, and one day her library gets shut down. Her branch is like no longer viable, so they're just shutting everything down, and Nina is like tired of doing this, so she decides to go to Scotland and open her own bookshop. I just love this book so much. I loved the writing style. It was captivating, it was quirky, it kept me like swept up in the story. It was also super atmospheric. If you're looking for a good Scotland book, this one like delivers on the ambiance and the atmosphere. I also believe that this takes place in the fall, though I could be wrong, but I remember the characters being like quite cold and talking about like the cold weather and like also talking about like fall, but I could be wrong about like the time of year that this takes place in. It was such an amazing one. The romance is also really great. So as a whole, like I said, it's one of my favorite books of last year, and I'm looking forward to reading the companion novel this year, but I would totally recommend this one. It's another one that like is a book about books, so if you're looking for that, look no further than this one. My next book recommendation is a romance novel, because I love me some good romance during the fall, like at all times, but this one specifically reminds me of fall, and it is Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. So I don't really know why this one reminds me of fall specifically. It might be because our main character Lily is studying at, I think it's Princeton, and like even though it's not a book that is about like our main character going to college, it does take place during the time where she's studying at school, so this could be why. But basically this follows our two main characters, Lily and Lo, and both of them are addicts. They're also childhood friends, so they've known each other for the longest time, and at this point in their life they start developing feelings for one another, feelings that might have been there for longer than they realized. Personally, I love the series. It's like so addicting, and like no pun intended, but like I just love the writing style in this. It's super captivating. It flies by. I read all of these books. Like there's a lot of books in this series. There's a spin-off as well, and overall I think it's like a 10-book series, but it's so good. Like I cannot get enough of this. I really love these books, and this one is the first one. Lily and Lo are my favorite couple in the series, so like if you're looking to get their story, this one is chef's kiss. And my last book recommendation for this video is another romance read, but this one is a new release, and it is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I read this recently. I had an arc of this and I fell in love with this. This was so good. It follows our main character, Olive, I think that's her name, and she's a PhD student at Stanford University. In order to like prove to her best friend that she's over her ex-boyfriend, who's now her best friend's boyfriend, complicated, right? She tells her that she has a new boyfriend, or like she's in a relationship, and it's actually a lie. But one day, in order to like make sure that she doesn't get caught up in the lie, she makes out with this, or she kisses, should I say, this professor at school. And as it turns out, he's very well known. He has a reputation for not being the greatest. So we have like the grumpy sunshine relationship at play, and it's kind of like a fake dating situation, and I loved it. There's a reason why it's like sold out everywhere. It's because it's amazing. So if you guys can get your hands on a copy, would totally recommend. One of the reasons why I would recommend this for fall is because this takes place at Stanford University, like the campus thing, but also it's like heavy on the academia part of things, because Olive is a PhD student. We get to read a lot about like the research process and just like how she like lives her life. I really loved it. Like I read this in 2 days, couldn't get enough of it. And if you're looking for like a super fast-paced read that will sweep you off your feet and just like get you intertwined in this story, I guess look no further than The Love Hypothesis. It was so good, and I get the hype. Like it's really, really good. So I guess that's it for this video. I hope you guys got some great recommendations out of it. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these, and obviously if you guys have any recommendations for like cozy books for this fall, let me know in the comments down below as well, because I am always looking for some cozy reads. No matter what the time of year is, I'm down for some cozy vibes. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!